Hello, Ferdinand here. In this video, we are going together have a look at the Cinema 4D C++ SDK for macOS and generate a build system with CMake for it. So I have here the Cinema 4D extended C++ SDK for macOS, and in the SDK we have the CMake folder, which contains our CMake scripts, and we have the docs folder, which contains the documentation. We have a frameworks folder, which contains our API. Then we have the plugins folder, which contains the source code as it's shipped with the SDK. You could also ship this or use different folders when you do this. And we have a tools folder, which contains some tooling. And we have here a bunch of files. As I said, I'm using the extended SDK, so when you would be using the SDK.zip, which is shipped directly with Cinema 4D itself, you wouldn't have a tools folder and you wouldn't have a docs folder, and you would also be missing here some files, but otherwise your SDK would be functionally identical. You can follow this here also with the SDK zip, which is shipped with Cinema, but in general we recommend using the extended SDK, which is available under developers-maxon-net. Okay, so let's get started. So I have here the CMake GUI, and the reason why we need CMake is because we do not ship our SDK with build systems, so there are no quote-unquote project files shipped with the SDK, and you must first generate them. And you do this with CMake. And the first thing which we have to do is set here this where is the source code path, which is a little bit misleadingly named. This does not actually want to set you the path to the source code, which would be in our case here, for example, the plugins folder, but it wants to set you the path to your project, more precisely where the root level CMake list.txt file is, and that is in the case of the SDK or a Cinema 4D project in general, always the SDK folder. No, I don't want this. So we're going to pick the SDK folder here. This is the same as we see there. And once you have done this, it will also automatically populate here this where to build the binaries folder, which is again a little bit misleadingly named. This is actually the folder where it will put the build system. So more than the binaries will land there. And because we provide a preset, there is here this preset value, and you could also put this somewhere else, but this is fine. And what we now have to do is to choose a preset, because we ship the SDK with build presets, and the only preset you can use under macOS is this Xcode macOS universal preset, which will generate a build system for Clang in Xcode. So now that we have done all this, we can click here the configuration button, and because, first it asks us if we want to create here this folder. Yes. And now here this window opens, but we don't have to do anything here because we have chosen a preset, therefore everything is already set as it should be. We can just click done, and now we have to wait a bit that Xcode configures the build system. Sorry, not Xcode, but CMake. And now it's done, so you shouldn't have here any errors or warnings in this, and when you were successful it says configuration done or configuring done. And now we see here a bunch of settings which we can modify. So the first thing is here the CMake C++ standard. This is set to the C++ standard 20. You usually should not change this value unless you exactly know what you're doing. We do not support any other values than C++ 20 there at the moment. The next thing is the debug executable. So when you later then write your project and want to debug it, if we set here a debug executable, then you can automatically, or then your project will automatically set up so that you don't have to configure the debug application. Other than under Windows, under Windows, it's not recommended to right away set this. So for now, you should leave this empty, because I will show you in a second what happens if we ignore this. And this is a specialty option so that you can optimize your project a little bit. You should leave this checked by default. You can read about the details in the documentation. These three options here, the custom path files, external libs, and module deals, are for configuring basically from where your project takes its own source code and external libraries. So the custom path files is here this file by default, and if you look here quickly into it, here you can basically, by default, the setup automatically ingests the content from this folder. But if you use this file, so this is all commented out here at the moment with the hashtags. That's basically why this file is not working at the moment. And yeah, you could modify here the module path and also do some other things. And the external libs directory is, you could create here this directory which is set up here, or point this to somewhere else, and you could then basically put there external dependencies, so something like static or dynamic de-linked libraries. And the SDK modules directory points here to this plugins folder at the moment. So this is basically the folder which CMake currently will automatically ingest all the content. And the OS X architectures are the chip architectures for which your project will be built. So ARM and Intel processors basically. And you should usually leave this at default. This basically means the universal build system, which we just selected here above. Yeah, the Cinema4D executable, it's usually quite recommended to set this, but I will show you right now. So to set this, what we have to do is go here to a Cinema4D folder, which matches the SDK for which you want to build. So I'm building here for the 2025.2 SDKs. So I'm picking here 2025.2 Cinema4D, and you just link this then, and our setup will then basically configure it so that you can easily debug things without having to set up things manually there. But let's try it like this. So the next thing we have to do is generate, and this generating was successful. So here again, errors could appear here if you did something wrong in your source code, and then you would see a red text and you shouldn't see it. But in our case, generating was successful, and we can now open the project in Xcode. Oops, it doesn't open on its own. Just loads. Take some time to load, and at first glance this all looks correct. So we have here our frameworks, and we have here our source code, and we have also the meta build targets. But when we go into our schemas here, we can see that only we have schemas for the plugins and no schemas for the frameworks, and more importantly, we do not have a scheme for the meta build target all build, which is of course required to build the whole project. And this is because we set here this option. So you should not set this option. So let's configure this again. And generate again. And open this again. And now We have here all our plugin projects, we have all frameworks, and most importantly, we have the all build target. You can still use this option, but you have to first build this SDK at least once, and then after that you can basically once set this option and generate, and yeah, then you can continue working as normal. Yeah, but you have to do this little workaround under macOS because yeah, there's a technical hurdle which makes this rather complicated to fix this, and for now I've decided to not fix this under macOS. Okay, so this basically concludes the project generation part. I hope I will see you in the next video where we will build the SDK together and explore a little bit its content. Happy coding, happy rendering. Bye bye.